Hey, hi everyone. This is Ranmay here, back with your show E-Coffee with Experts. Today we have Jonathan Snow, who is the founder and president at the Snow Agency with us. Welcome, Jonathan, to our show tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Great. I should rather say morning or afternoon because we have broad sunlight in your background, rather. Great.
Yeah, beautiful Miami weather, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So, Jonathan, before we move forward and talk about marketing and how it has evolved over the years with your experience there, could you please introduce yourself and your agency before we take it forward so that our audiences know more about Snow Agency and your journey thus far?
Absolutely. So I'm Jonathan Snow, founder and president of the Snow Agency. I've been in the e-commerce and digital marketing space for about a decade now. Got started on the influencer and affiliate side, ended up building an affiliate marketing platform with my brother, Dan, who's been my partner on all business ventures since that point. So we essentially built a platform that got all the largest organic social media pages, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, millions of followers that we ended up getting on our platform. And then we ended up finding brands or businesses that wanted to run ads through those organic pages. We ended up driving 9 figures in revenue through the platform in under 2 years of launching it. And then we ended up launching our own Shopify brand to leverage that affiliate network that we had built out. And we ended up scaling that brand up to 7 figures in revenue profitably from day one. And then from there, we ended up building another brand and another brand. And we essentially ended up with an e-commerce holding company. And we were using the same exact blueprint that we used on the first brand, but for all the other brands that we ended up launching, close to 10 brands we had at our peak. And we were using the same tech stack, the same traffic sources, the same creative templates. And we knew we were onto something special. And during this time of owning, operating, and launching all these brands, we ended up realizing that all of our strategies were translatable across e-commerce. We mastered the art of paid social, performance creative. How do we increase conversion rate, average order value, lifetime value on all these brands? And it was really translatable and predictable to scale brands to 8 figures in revenue profitably. And over the course of about 5 years of owning this holding company of Shopify brands, we started getting demand for our services actually. And that's how the agency was born. So the Snow Agency was founded off of that e-commerce holding company. And we essentially had our own agency that we assembled to just service our own brands. But then we took on our first client. And then they referred a client and they referred a client. And now we had as many clients as we did brands that we owned, and had that moment of introspection where we had to choose, do we want to be on the brand side or the agency side? And so we realized that what we really loved doing was the growth, the problem solving, and really the marketing. So we ended up exiting our brands to focus on the agency about 4 years ago. And since that time, we've been a full service agency. We've been actually recently acquired by Avenue Z, with the vision of forming a next generation media company. So we were pretty much focused on, at the Snow Agency, paid social, search, influencer marketing, creative production, and email SMS marketing. But we were lacking a strategy for CRO, SEO, and PR. So since the acquisition, we've actually been integrating with 2 other agencies that were also acquired by Avenue Z so that we could fully roll out robust capabilities that included PR, SEO, and CRO. So we're a full service agency now. We're one of 12 Shopify Plus partners in the US for digital marketing, which has been a nice accolade for us. We were recently named Inc. 5000 second fastest growing company in the US in the advertising vertical. So we're up to some exciting things here, and happy to talk with you today about everything.
Absolutely. That is quite a journey and more to come, the way you have explained it. Exciting times ahead for Snow Agency and Avenue Z and the overall group company. You were into dentistry and then now you are this digital marketing geek and you have your own agency. How has been the journey thus far? We would love to hear more from you.
Yeah, it's actually a crazy story that could take up a whole podcast episode in itself. But basically, when I was a general dentist in the Air Force, I was stationed in Louisiana in the middle of nowhere and had nothing to do after the day ended. So in the Air Force, your days start at 7 a.m., they end at 3 p.m. This is before I was married. I was living alone in the middle of nowhere. And my days were over at 3 p.m., but I had nothing to do. So that's where I started getting my footing in digital marketing with my brother. So my brother, Dan, he was launching all these huge organic social media pages. So at Rap is his claim to fame, over 10 million followers on Instagram. And so he brought that idea to me to build that platform. And that's how I got started. And I was really juggling dentistry and the digital marketing career for 7, 8 years after I was a general dentist in the Air Force, I moved back to New Jersey, where I'm from, and I did a 3-year residency program for orthodontics. During that time, we ended up launching all these brands. We launched the agency while I was still in orthodontics residency. And then ironically, right when I was finishing up my residency, I was under contract to buy an orthodontic practice in the Bronx in New York City. And then COVID hit literally that week. So I pulled out of that deal. And during that time, we all know what happened to e-commerce and digital marketing. That was the biggest boom of all time. It was like Black Friday, Cyber Monday every single day. So the agency started growing like wildfire. I just finished up my residency. Everything is shut down in New York City. I literally couldn't even practice unless it was emergency treatment, because orthodontics is all cosmetic treatment. You literally could not open your practice during this time. So that was my walking away point from orthodontics, because the agency was growing so fast. We were doubling, tripling the team within 1 year since COVID hit. And I just couldn't juggle both careers anymore. So still involved on the dentistry side. I'm an advisor for an oral health venture capital fund. We have a nice niche of dental clients within the agency too. So I'm definitely still involved in dentistry, but on the business and marketing side, not so much on actually treating patients side.
You would be giving them advice apart from digital marketing about how they should be going about with their patients as well at times, isn't it?
Yep, exactly.
Skill sets. Great. It's nice way to stay in touch, which you loved at some point, and maybe now you never know. And then e-commerce has seen such tremendous growth in recent years, particularly like you mentioned, due to the pandemic. What are some of the emerging trends or best practices you recommend for companies, looking to succeed in this competitive landscape that it is right now?
Yeah, so it's funny because things have changed so drastically over the past few years, especially with external forces like iOS 14, like macroeconomic shifts where the consumer became much weaker, and changes in the ad platform that really reward more consolidated, almost objective, automated media buying, right? Where a lot of the focus has to be outside of the platform. If you're a performance marketer and you're spending most of your day in the ad platform, you're doing it wrong. So I think the biggest shift has been that we try to make a big impact on the creative, on the fun landing pages, conversion rate, average order value, what tech stacks we need to implement, what kind of email SMS retention strategies, how do we optimize LTV? All of our focus, 90% of our focus is there. Everything in the ad platform is best left to the machine learning and the algorithms. So that's been the biggest shift we've seen.
Great. You just did mention about machine learning. So can you please discuss, probably elaborate more on the role of AI and machine learning in e-commerce, and how at Snow Agency, how are you leveraging this to drive better results for your clients?
Yeah, that's a great question. The power of meta ads is from all the data, from all the machine learning, right? The biggest thing that was disrupted actually in iOS 14.5 was that anyone that opted out of tracking, that data feedback loop with who actually converted getting sent back to Meta, that was broken. So the machine learning actually took a huge hit, where there were a lot of false negatives, people that actually were purchasing from ads because it wasn't being tracked. The algorithm thought this person or this type of person is not likely to convert, even though they did convert. And it confused the algorithm, and it threw the machine learning in disarray by adding all this noise into the system. So what we've actually been focusing on is, how do we restore that feedback loop? And it's not the answer. Everyone confuses attribution and machine learning and the data feedback loop. Attribution was impacted by iOS 14, but also the data feedback loop was disrupted. So if you use a third-party attribution system like Triple Whale, Northbeam, that's great. If you want to improve your attribution and understanding of the numbers, that's great to use, but that doesn't send that back to Meta. Meta doesn't learn from that. So machine learning is still a big issue. And what we focused on in the past year to find a solution, we found a couple. There's Popsicle and there's Elevar, which use the Facebook conversion API, which is different than the Shopify Facebook conversion API integration, which has a lot of weaknesses. So if you're only relying on that API, you realize all your events are getting sent back from the server, which is great. But after they get matched in Meta, if you're using that Shopify integration, half those events are getting thrown away because of the privacy issues. But if you're using an Elevar or a Popsicle, you're sending that first party data back. You're taking ownership of the data as a brand. When Meta receives that data, it's actually able to use that data for the machine learning to restore performance. So that's been our main focus in educating our clients that this is something that is absolutely critical that they need to augment their marketing with.
Yeah, taking ownership of the data becomes so critical at times. In fact, at all times, I must say. Yeah, so that's a very valid point raised there. Talking about common challenges in e-commerce, day-to-day life of an e-commerce business, small, big, whatever. Things like abandonment, product returns, and not making that final purchase, putting in the card information and going back. So, what strategies do you adopt to counter these challenges for your clients?
Yep. The easy one is retargeting on paid social, paid search. So display ads as well. But email and SMS is really a critical, that's going to be your highest ROI attempt to win customers that didn't end up purchasing yet. Email and SMS, Klaviyo and Attentive are the two popular ones. That's what we love using for email and SMS. You got to set up all your proper flows for those browse abandoned cards and really hit your consumers at part of the journey where they need to receive that message to be able to convert. Proper email SMS marketing should represent easily over 20% of your store revenue. And it's not just for retargeting those people that abandoned, but reconverting people that already purchased. So for CPG brands, you need to be able to win them back for a second, third, fourth purchase to elevate that lifetime value.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of businesses or agencies working for their clients forget to tap in on the repeat consumption of your product or service. That is multiplying the revenue because there is lesser cost per acquisition on that. So a lot of people forget to tap in that segment, which they have already earned for that matter. Right. Talking about e-commerce and social media, the amalgam of how social media plays an important role for e-commerce and other platforms like TikTok, Instagram. So how do you leverage these platforms to drive more engagement and sales for your clients?
Yeah, it's critical to have an organic strategy. I call like an Instagram feed, a TikTok feed. That's almost like a landing page for your brand, right?
Correct.
So when we're talking about performance marketing and brand messaging, brand voice, a landing page is really designed for performance marketing. You want to increase conversion rate. When someone lands on that landing page from paid traffic, you want to convert them immediately. But the opportunity in that white space for your brand to get across the brand mission, the brand voice, the target demographic, that's really best fit for the organic page. I see a lot of brands that focus on paid media because that's what's sexy. That's what drives eyeball. That's what drives ROI. Without a strategy on your organic page, I don't think a lot of brands realize that consumers will actually click on your page before they go to your website and purchase. So if you're not active on that organic page, if you're not designing that grid to look really harmonious and be on brand and not look like a kindergartner just threw some random posts on the page, it's going to improve your conversion rate if you have that robust strategy. So critical to think about social media on organic and the paid fronts.
And what is your take on Facebook ads overall, keeping e-commerce industry in perspective?
Yeah, so Facebook is king. Facebook and Google, those are the kings of digital marketing right now for e-commerce brands. TikTok was like the shiny new object of 2022 when the economy took a downturn, when iOS 14 was really impacting the industry. Everyone ran to TikTok as this savior. Oh, maybe everything is where TikTok is and we need to be on TikTok. Let me pull budgets from Meta, go to TikTok. I think those brands realize that, don't get me wrong, TikTok is a viable platform, but I think those brands realize that Meta is king. My opinion is that Meta will always be king while I'm in this industry for the next 20 plus years. I don't foresee a platform that can even come close to Meta, not even close in terms of scaling, maintaining scale, and achieving performance. Meta has a discovery and a conversion element to that platform where you hit them with first touch and last touch all in that same session to drive impulse purchases. I don't foresee any platform being able to do that like Meta.
And then you did mention about brand voice and the positioning of your brand and how people perceive it. There is always a gap in terms of how business owners feel about their brand versus how the market perceives it. And us as agencies, it's a very important responsibility to bridge that gap. And so how do you feel, what all important pointers that an agency owner should look at while having these discovery sessions with a business that is getting on board and kind of drive home that message, that brand voice, that value proposition or positioning of the brand on the market with the kind of information on the kind of, the market, the positioning that they want in the market. So how do you bridge that gap?
So every agency or every brand that comes on board with our agency, we do a discovery call to first understand what are their business objectives, right? And because we're a performance marketing agency, every brand really cares about ROI, right? Like they come to us to make more money and scale profitably. So the brands that are actually really protective of their brand voice and the brand messaging and expect this high ROI, they're almost at odds very frequently. So we try to find a happy medium where we're like, okay, give us your brand kit. We understand your type fonts. We understand your brand colors. And we're going to make sure we use all of that in the creative, but we need to get you a little out of your comfort zone, use a lot more user generated content, speak to the pain points that consumers actually care about. I think the major issue that I see with brands is that brands have an ego. They think that everyone cares about them and their brand. When consumers hear about your products for the first time and they've never heard about you, they don't care about your brand. They care about themselves and the pain points that they are dealt with on a daily basis. So if they see an ad in the feed and they see, let's just talk about a gut health brand. One of the brands that we actually own is a gut health brand. Let's talk about bloating. If we run an ad for Chlora as the name of the brand, a new consumer sees Chlora and they'll scroll right past it. They don't care about Chlora. They're like, oh, what's Chlora? It's just an ad. I'm going to go buy it. But if they see an ad that talks about bloating, brain fog, indigestion, weight gain, now they might actually stop and want to hear more about it because they resonate with those pain points. So that's what we're trying to educate our brands on, is selling indirectly. It's selling to what the consumer wants to see, which is all selfish needs, not selling the brand on the consumer.
Yeah, it's more feature sell, benefit sell. So you need to kind of plug in that way versus just talking about your brand, what it does, how it's gonna work and all that. Correct. And before we wrap it up, Jonathan, I need to ask you about this burning topic of AI, Chat GPT. You have been in the industry for more than a decade now, have seen it all, have gone through merger acquisitions and seen it all and in this span. So how do you think AI gonna evolve the industry in another, let's say, 5-10 years time? And how do you see it moving forward, especially with people getting scared for their jobs and all of that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's the $1 million question, a hot topic today, right? So currently we're using ChatGPT and AI really for market research primarily. So competitor research, pain points. If we're like, give me 5 consumer pain points why someone would want to buy that digestion product, right? So we're using it for a nice starting point for all of our creative inspo, our marketing angles and everything like that. Even inspo for email copy, headlines for an ad, right? Like you can ask it, give me 5 compelling direct response headlines why someone would want to buy this product. And it gives you some great inspo that you otherwise wouldn't have possibly come up with, or it might have taken you an hour and wasted your time to come up with. So how we view AI is that it's not going to be replacing humans. It's giving humans a tool that they can use to be more effective in their day-to-day and potentially increase their bandwidth and increase their operational efficiency. So it's almost like humans with calculators are a tool, so you can save time from doing long form math, right? Made humans more efficient and impactful. How I see AI going and what I'm most excited about is automating media buying. So budget optimization, right? If a brand can just plug in what their KPIs are, what their defined budget would be based on those scaling parameters, just having the machines operate that so that the humans can focus on the subjective elements of marketing, creative strategy, offer testing, things like that. So that's one area that I'm excited about, but also I think AI and creative and just spitting out a ton of different formats of UGC, of one raw piece of UGC, and giving 8 different hooks, text on screen, and then just iteration on the data based on the results from that. So it can like iterate kind of the things that have already been working and give you more creative to test on top of that. So that's what I'm excited to see in the next phase of AI.
Superb, superb. Yeah, Jonathan, while it has been really insightful in terms of what you have shared, and I am pretty sure that our audiences would have benefited a lot hearing to you and understanding your journey thus far, and also your opinion or insights about the digital marketing subjects that we discussed tonight. And before we wrap it up, Jonathan, I would like to play a quick rapid fire with you. I hope you're game for it.
Absolutely.
You look like you're always game for that piece. So, what is your favorite book?
My favorite book, that's a good one. Honestly, it has nothing to do with digital marketing. The Little Book of Common Sense Investing had a big impact on me when I first started generating money, right? There's nothing more important than knowing how to save and invest your money and let your money work for you. So understanding the power of index fund, compounding gains, compounding interest and dividends over time, especially doing it while you're young, that really educated me early on to be able to build a nice investment portfolio that scales over time.
Great. And are you a morning person or a night person?
Definitely a morning person. I'm up pretty early every day, 6 a.m. I go to the gym. I try to keep physical fitness a priority so that I set the day right, have energy so that when I walk into the office, I'm already wide awake. I'm wired. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. You can say it from your physique out there with the biceps pulping out. You are a morning person. Yeah, great. What was your last Google search?
My last Google search was probably around the new. Yeah, my last Google search was around branded content ad formats on Meta, which is a new priority for Meta. So I'm trying to carve out how to leverage that with PR, especially. So branded content is when, you have something published on a publisher's website and now the brand can run that ad with the publisher. So it's almost like a level of whitelisting that hasn't really been tapped yet, but I know it's a big focus of Meta moving forward.
Great. And let's say if there is ever a movie made on you, what genre would it be?
What genre would it be? Ooh. That's a good
We got you
question.
thinking more rather than asking those digital marketing questions.
Yeah, no, that was a good question. I would say it's I don't know, like the day-to-day grind of Jon Snow, the real life Jon Snow. I've been pretty deep into many different industries like dentistry. I think my story in general would just be like a day in the life I understand business really deeply. I understand medicine and dentistry very deeply. I understand digital marketing. And I'm a massive sports fan. So I probably know more about NFL and fantasy football than 99% of the people out there that are doing it for a full-time career. So yeah, but I never appreciated having free time. I need to keep my mind busy. I'm not the one to just be on a couch watching TV. So I use that time to actually just dig deeper into areas that I'm interested in.
That's really nice. And you did mention about sports. So what is your favorite sport?
American football is my favorite sport by far to watch. I'm a huge New York Giants fan, but I love basketball as well. I'm a big Knicks fan. Knicks are in the playoffs now.
Yeah.
Deeper than they've been in the past 10 years. So I'm pretty excited.
Jonathan, thank you so much for taking out time for this podcast. Really appreciate you sharing your insights and a big thank you for doing this.
Of course, my pleasure. Anyone wants to follow me for more insights on Twitter at Dr. Jonathan Snow. I try to post as much knowledge and insights that I can on a daily basis so that everyone in the industry can glean from the perspective that I have with a ton of different e-commerce brands in our agency's purview. So give me a follow and we'll connect.
Super. I'm sure you're going to get a lot more after this. Super. Thank you, Jonathan.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk soon.